If it's not in Redtail, it never happened. It's so important. In fact, that saying is so important that I'm going to go into the CRM and stamp it in here. You'll notice that right here on our front page news of what's going on in the office, there is something that says team notices. And this is just like a revolving message that you can put into your CRM. And because this saying is so important to me and our office, I want to go ahead and put that message here for everyone to refer to. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on my name in the top right hand corner, and I'm going to go down to manage your account. So I'm going to click on my name in the top right hand corner, and I'm going to go to manage your account. And underneath the preferences area, you're going to have an area here that says manage team notices. And if I click on that, that's what's currently being cycled through in my notices. But if I click new team notice in the top right hand corner, I can add my favorite saying here. All right, perfect. And then I can even add in some formatting, make it bold, make it large and in charge. So that way this saying isn't taken lightly. It's going to be kind of there for my team, kind of yelling at them so that they know that if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. So I know that we live and die by this phrase in our office, and I think that you should too, just because Redtail is kind of like a piggy bank where everyone needs to go in and add in their 2 cents to the piggy bank to make our wealth larger. So if I'm the only one adding in my 2 cents, we're really not going to get anywhere quickly. But if we have everyone in the office contributing and adding their 2 cents to the CRM, we're going to have a wealth of information by the end of the year or by the end of a certain time frame. So with all of that being said, now we'll go into kind of the best practices and what I mean exactly when I say if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. And with the CRM, we haven't reached artificial intelligence level where the system's able to read your mind or anticipate what you need. So if you want something to be inside of Redtail, you need to be in the habit of putting it in there. So that goes from having a meeting to sending out an email to making an onboarding process happen. The most dangerous place these processes or these tasks or these actions can be are inside of your head. So you want to get them out of that dangerous place of inside your head and into the system so that way you can go on vacation, you can take some time off, and business will go on as usual. So let's just say that we ran into one of our clients today while we were at the store, and they introduced us to their nephew, and they want to go ahead and get a meeting set up between us and their nephew. So first of all, a lot there just happened. So we met one of our current clients at the store. We ran into them. They referred us to one of their nephews, and their nephew wants a meeting. So to go ahead and start, I'm going to click on the plus sign in the top right hand corner, and I'm going to choose to add in a contact. And I'm choosing to add in a contact as my first step because I just found out someone new that I can do business with. So I want to get them their own contact record in the system so that way we can get information on them and link their information to other people as well. So to add in a new contact, I'm going to go ahead and choose individual because I'm going to be adding in a person. And at the very least, to add in a person, all you need is a first and last name because sometimes that's the only information you have on a client. So we're going to go ahead and say that we ran into the Samuel Ocean, and he actually goes by Sammy. So I'm going to type that there into the nickname. And since that's the only information I have on this person, I'm going to go ahead and click save. I do have the ability to create a family name here just because I do have their first and last name. So I'm going to do that as well. Because when you see family name, just think about a label on an envelope. So you want to create a family name for every head of household if they have a family and every single individual. So if Sammy is single, we still want to go in here and create what we would want to see on the label of an envelope. But that's all the information that I have currently. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Save Contact. And now we want to add more information because if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. So first thing that I want to do is I want to link Sam to his uncle so that I can see and maintain that link to each other to see where this business is coming from. So I'm going to go to more on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go down to memberships. So I clicked more on the left-hand side, and I went to memberships. And now I'm going to click add in the top right-hand corner and type in the uncle's name. And I'm going to type in slowly so that the system gets an opportunity to search. All right, so here's the uncle right here, and I'm going to go ahead and say define the relationship. Right now it says linked contact is. So linked contact is Danny. So what is Danny to Sammy? So Danny is going to be the uncle. And then the contact who is Sammy, what is he? He's going to be the nephew. So I'm going to go ahead and add in that membership now that that bridge has been built on both sides to go ahead and define that relationship. Now the next thing I would also do is go over to the contact details and edit this. So that way we can say that the source of this is from a referral, and I could even type in Danny's name here so that I can give him the credit for that referral. Now, while we're on this contact details page, another thing that I see that often is overlooked by offices is going to be the client since date. So client since date is not something that's created automatically. There is something here called contact created, and that's done automatically. But client since is great to go ahead and say that maybe it took Sammy 6 months to work with us in meeting before he became a client. Then as soon as he becomes a client, I would go ahead and say that date. So that way you can see, you know, the contact was created in August, but Sammy didn't become a client until April. So then you can kind of see that prospecting time took 6 months and kind of evaluate your process. But if you don't put this information in here, then it never gets captured and it never gets stored. So if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. If you don't populate this date, then it's as if they never became a client. So keep that in mind. And then also, you know, you have your status, you have your category, all of that right here as well. You should populate as much information as possible just so you can put in that front end work now. So that way in the moment, you are just very quick to find answers. You're very quick to generate lists, and you have everything in here for compliance purposes as well. So I'm going to go ahead and update the contact details there. And now we went ahead and made the membership. We went ahead and added in the referral source. We changed the family name. Now, the next thing that I would suggest to do is add in a note, because what happened with this person? How did this person get entered into the system? Did they come into the door as a walk-in? Is it somebody's friend or family? Is this a client that I've been trying to work with for a couple of years? You need to really define where this person is coming from. And I think a note can really help to capture that information. So my favorite way to add in a note is to click on the plus sign in the top right hand corner and then choose notes. And remember, this is the most important part of this whole entire concept of if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. And that's adding in a note for everything. So if something just happened, you just sent an email, you just had a meeting, you just ran into someone at the store, you always want to go into the CRM and add that in as a note for history. So notes are for history. Something just happened. You need to get that into the system as a note. So the opposite of a note is going to be an activity. An activity is something in the future. So if something needs to happen, you need to have a meeting, you need to send an email, you need to get a signature. That's going to be considered an activity. So remember, notes are for history, activities are for the future, but both of them are super important in the system. If it's not in Redtail, it never happened. So I'm going to go ahead and choose notes here. And now you're going to have the ability to type in as much information as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and say the gist of what happened here. All right, so I went ahead and said exactly what happened. We ran into Danny at the store. He mentioned his nephew, Sammy, and I also mentioned some other details as well that, it runs in the family that Sammy likes to gamble as well, and he loves the casino. So I went ahead and typed in as much information there as possible. You also have the ability to categorize this note. So maybe down the line, you want to be able to pull up all of your referrals or all of your onboardings. You can go ahead and categorize it and pull that up later. But most importantly, I want to direct your attention here to copy to another contact. Right now, if I add in this note, it's only being added to Sammy's record. But you'll notice there's a lot of details in here about Danny as well. So for best professional practice, I suggest to link this note to both records. So that way you'll have this note on both records to refer to. So if I go down here and I start typing in Ocean, I can go ahead and choose Danny here. And now it'll go ahead and add this note to Sammy's record, and it'll add it to Danny's record as well. So if I go over here to notes on the left-hand side, you'll see this note was just added today, and it's here for me to refer to. Now, since this is such important information, especially the sentence here at the bottom, I also want to point out a tool called Important Information. So up here in the top right-hand corner, you're going to have these 4 buttons. And the one that I want to point your attention to is right here. It's a circle with an exclamation point in it, and that is called important information. This is a free form text box. I could type in anything here, but it's great to keep high level information here that you just want to remember off the bat for this client. So let's go ahead and click edit here. And like I said, it's a free form text field. So I can go ahead and type in, Sammy loves to gamble and loves the casino. And then I can put in as many other details as possible. Danny's nephew. All right, so if I update that important information, now that there's information populated inside of there, it'll go ahead and light up in this red color. So if there's information inside, it'll go ahead and light up in red. And it can just be, top high level information that you want to remember on this client. And if you want to add something else, you can just click on edit and add in anything else as well. So I like to point out that important information box and kind of give it to you as a tool to keep that information that you want to refer to later. I also want to go back to Danny's record. So I'm going to click on the recently viewed icon in the top right hand corner. And I'm going to go back here to Danny's record. And I'm going to go over to his notes on the left hand side. And I want to go ahead and choose to lock this note at the very top of my list. So that way I can always remember the next time that we have a meeting that I ran into him at the store and he brought me that awesome referral. So to do that, I can click on actions over here and choose pin note. And what that will do is it'll take this note and it'll go ahead and put pinned in front of it and lock it at the top. So now it's not in chronological order. It's going to be locked at the top for me to refer to. Kind of similar to this note right here. This note was written in 2016, but it's locked up here at the top. And that's because this note is pinned up as well. So if we want to remember a note that we added, we want it to be locked up at the top for us to refer to quickly later, then you're going to want to click on actions next to a note and click pin note. And if you want to remove the pin, you just click on actions and choose remove pin. And it'll take it from being locked at the top and throw it into chronological order. So I think that pin notes and I think that important information, they kind of compete with each other, but both of them are great ways to capture and store information that you want to remember on a client. Now, next thing I want to talk about, if I go to today in the top left-hand corner, I'm going to click on the activities tab up here at the top. And right now you'll notice it says past due and next 7 days, and it's showing everyone. So as best practice, what I suggest to do is go to this tab, maybe monthly or quarterly, annually, biannually, but go ahead and clean up these past due activities. Because remember, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. So if we don't go in here and complete this sales meeting, then it's as if it never happened. It's kind of a floating meeting that we were supposed to have, but no one got to it, and it's just lingering there. So if you're going to be following this concept of if it's not in Redtail, it never happened, you want to get in the habit of completing an activity as soon as you have it, So that way it gets date, time, and user stamped and saved as a note for history. So if you want to clean them all up, you can click on that top checkbox and go over to the activity options, and you can choose to complete them all in bulk, reassign them, reschedule, roll over, or delete them, but most likely you're going to want to complete them all in bulk. Next thing we have is if I go here to this planning meeting for Emmett Brown, you'll notice at the bottom right-hand corner, you have this area that says link notes. And what I would use this for is a running agenda to this activity. So if this is a planning meeting with Emmett Brown and I called Emmett to remind him All right, so what if I called Emmett to remind him of some common things that you want to bring into this meeting when you're meeting with the financial advisor? Then I can go ahead and type in all of those details here and add it as a link note. And now it's going to be date, time, and user stamped, and it's going to be added on to this activity. So if somebody's wondering if anyone ever called Emmett about those items to bring, they can always go here to the link notes and see, oh, okay, today, just a few minutes ago, this person was called and they were given that information. So make sure that same thing here, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. Even if you're calling to confirm a meeting with a client, maybe you call this client 6 or 7 times before they answer. Then I would add in every single attempt as a link note because you did your job. You called to confirm the meeting, but it just happens that it went to voicemail or this client's not available. So I would do every single thing that you're doing in relation to this activity, add it as a link note. So that way it's kind of this running dialogue to this activity and everyone can see what's been done. Now for this description, I would just suggest to use this as an agenda. Maybe they want to have a planning meeting to discuss buying versus leasing a car, retirement. You know, if they're going to have a meeting about these things, this is what I would use the description for, where I would use link notes to put everything that's happening. Maybe he called to cancel and reschedule. Then you want to add that in as a link note. It'll get date, time, and user stamped, added on to this activity. And also if you go to that client's record, it'll be added on as notes as well. All right, and going over to workflows on the left-hand side, we talked briefly in the beginning about the most dangerous place that processes can be, and that's inside of your head. So if you have a process in your head that you go through for money movement or for onboardings or reviews, I would suggest to start building those processes out in a workflow. So that way you can go ahead and take that step-by-step procedure that you repeat over and over again, and you can put that into the system as a workflow, and then you can delegate it out. You can use it as a training manual for new people that are hired onto the office, and you can just kind of create a safeguard for all of your processes. So if you want to learn more about workflows, feel free to check out our help desk. We have a head to toe series that covers it in depth. But in this specific webinar talking about if it's not in Redtail, it never happened, I just wanted to talk about step notes. Because with step notes, you can go ahead, kind of like a link note to an activity. This is the running dialogue to this specific workflow. So let's say that I'm in this specific stage to confirm the meeting with the client, and I did my job to go ahead and confirm the meeting with the client, but it just turns out that they're busy and they want to reschedule. Then what I would want to do is choose client reschedules as one of my outcomes and say, you know, all right. So I went ahead and put that they had an emergency come up and they want to meet tomorrow instead. I'm going to complete that step. It's going to add in a step note. So if somebody's wondering why in the world didn't this meeting happen today, then they can go over here to the step notes and see, oh, just a few minutes ago an emergency happened and it had to get moved. And then I would just change this target date because instead of them meeting today, they're going to be meeting the next day. So I'll go ahead and choose Friday, update that workflow, and now all of the other dates will automatically adjust for that target date. So make sure that even when it comes to workflows, even when it comes to activities, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. So you have to get in the habit of adding in every single thing that's happening into the system and putting it in its appropriate location. Whether that's a pin note, the important information, a step note, a link note, you want to get that information in. Now, if you're someone that has trouble with typing or getting your notes into the system, I can suggest to use something like a mobile dictation service like Mobile Assistant or CopyTalk is another competitor. This is a great way to go ahead and call your notes in. It's a live person listening. You can talk your notes to this person and they'll type it and send it right into the system. So if you're not someone that's typing them in, then feel free to use a partner service to see if that'll help get everything into the system. But just know that the most dangerous place that this information can be is inside of your head or written down somewhere on a legal pad where coffee can spill on it or a disaster can happen and you can lose that information. One of the best reasons of having a CRM is the information is safely stored electronically. So let's say you have a natural disaster in your area and you need to pick up and go do work somewhere else for the day. Your disaster recovery plan is to just pick up your laptop, go to a hotel, and stick your laptop into the charger and continue business as usual. But if you forgot to add in notes for the past month and you haven't added any of your activities in for the last year, then it's going to be much more difficult to have to go back and recall that information or recall those places where the information was written to go ahead and get started again. So know that that habit should be created, should be kind of suggested and enhanced on your team, that if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. Even offer incentives for people that are doing it really well, because you want to make sure that people are taking it serious. But otherwise, the only other thing that I have to say about if it's not in Redtail, it never happened, is templates. So if I click on my name in the top right hand corner, I'm going to go back down to manage your account. So I'm going to click on my name in the top right hand corner. I'm going to go down to manage your account. And like I said, the last thing I want to talk about are templates, because let's say that you send out the same email whenever somebody becomes a new client. You send them this nice email, you add in some attachments, you add in an image. then you might as well take that email that you send over and over again and put it into the system as a template. So that way, like I said, you don't have to worry about accidentally deleting the template from your inbox and, not being able to access it. Or you don't have to worry about maybe you going on vacation and people not being able to access your inbox. If you put everything here into the system, it's going to be there for you to refer to and your team to refer to later. So maybe you also send out a letter through the postal service that summarizes all the things to bring to their first meeting. Then you might want to add in that letter in as a mail merge template. So that way, whenever somebody new is coming in for their first meeting, you would just send them that welcome letter and they would get all that information. So it's all about customer service. It's all about repeating processes and being able to repeat that high level of customer service. So just know that you do have these templates within the system as well to kind of help reiterate that if it's not in Redtail, it never happened, and you can quickly pull your process and get it going with other teammates or yourself. But other than that, that's all I have for you today. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to our team at 800-206-5030, and that's option 3 for support. But otherwise, I want to thank everyone so much for your time today and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.